Hi guys, welcome to our YouTube channel. My name is Melanie Newman and this is Trey, my miniature poodle. Today I'm going to share with you guys how I scissor around Muzzle, because not all muzzles are created equal. Now when we talk about our dog's muzzle and creating a beautifully scissored round muzzle and really cute and teddy-like, we need to actually look at the dog's muzzle. So I've got Trey, my miniature poodle, so he's not an oodle, he's a full poodle. So his muzzle is a little bit longer than, say, for us in Australia, maybe a cavoodle that's crossed with a spaniel and a poodle. So the muzzle might be a little bit shorter, or you might be grooming a bichon, and the bichon's muzzle, of course, is a lot shorter than a poodle muzzle. But I'm going to go through some little tips to make a poodle muzzle that's a little bit longer, nice and round. Okay, so if we look at Trey's head, his muzzle is this length compared to the length of his skull, which is totally fine. But what we don't want to do, we don't want to make his head look snipey. So what I mean by that is, so it's really short at the front and that would give it more length. So snipey can also be where we're chiseling out all this and it's bringing more length out to the front of his muzzle. So what I need to do is make sure that when we clear out in front of his eyes, that I'm not coming in with the clipper and we're not clearing out too much hair here, as well as in his cheek area and also in front of his eyes. So sometimes with dogs with a shorter muzzle, we can afford to take some of this hair out because we've got the hair at the front to bring in that nice roundness. But with Trey, we don't have a lot of hair. It's a little bit sparse because he does rub the front of his mouth a lot, so it's a bit sparse here. But so I need this hair here to create that fill around his muzzle. So I've clipped up to his jawline, right up there. And you can see I've cleared out where his jaw is, so there's a nice V shape happening there. So his jaw from side to side is here, and then I've followed the line a little bit further up, so when his head's in that natural position, we're not going to have all this hair hanging down, so it just keeps that jawline and neck area super clean. So I'm using my curves, and like I said earlier, we need to make sure we're not bringing it in shorter here and longer here. We want to keep as much fill as we possibly can. And with our muzzles, we want round from the front and then round from the side. Now he doesn't have a lot of hair either on the top of his muzzle, so I'm not going to force this hair up. So I like to trim hair where it naturally sits, because when he goes home, I want him to still look beautiful. Okay, so I'm just going to move back his little ear and his little top knot, and all the little hairs around his lip area comb out. And then using my curves, I like to use the back side of my curves to start with. So through his lip area, I'm just going to clear that area out. And he's not a fan of this, but he'll be okay. Oh, good boy. He's not a fan, and he is my dog, and we do groom him all the time, but he thinks he's above it all. Good boy. So clearing out our lip area, and then flipping my curves back around to the curved side, and then coming up into his ear area. So we're getting that nice roundness happening. And as I'm trimming this, so I'm trimming it from his front profile, but I'm watching as I'm coming around that it's the same width as I'm trimming. And then comb it back out. Make sure we get all those little hairs, and then following the same process. And what this is doing is it's setting in our shape. So we're not making it perfect to start with, we're just setting in the shape and the length. Now this is a formula that I always follow. If we have a formula when we groom, we'll never make mistakes. We just keep improving and improving. So we can see how it's round from our side profile, and then we're starting to build up the roundness from our front profile. And move all those little hairs out and use the back side of my curve to start with around his lip area. He just hates that feeling. Good boy. And then flip my curve around the other way, so our natural side, and then bring it up and around. And heading towards that ear canal. Now we can see a little bit is hanging out of this side, so we need to take that off and make it nice and even throughout. So now we've set in our two sides, so we've blocked our sides in, so we've got the same amount of hair on one side as we do the other side, so we don't need to worry about that, but we do need to worry about our jawline, so bringing this in nice and round, and then the top of our nose area, so the bridge of our nose. So I'm gently going to pop my thumb on his lip area and comb all those little hairs down. Don't know what he's doing. Good boy. And then just bringing it nice and round. So this is blocking in our jaw area. So we're meeting up our two sides. And let's just cross-check it with our fine-tooth comb, making sure we've got all those little hairs, and then going through again with our scissors. Good boy, Trey. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with how his jaw's looking, and we've got a nice little smile happening. Good boy. So let's look at the top of his muzzle. So down the bridge of his nose. Now if I take all this hair off here, look how long it makes his nose look. So it just lengthens it all of a sudden. But as soon as we bring that hair up slightly, how it would normally sit, it brings the appearance of the nose a lot shorter. So we need to not touch this nearly at all. Like I'll tip it with the scissors, but not much. But before we do that, we just need to clean out his little eye area. And I'm just going to do that with our thinners. So I'm just going to come in, and we're going in the opposite direction and just clearing that out a little bit. Good boy. And using our fine-tooth comb to lift those little hairs and coming up into that area just in front of his eyes. And then I'm going to come in, but I'm going to lift my thinners a little bit so it's not going to catch any of this hair on the bridge of his nose. And just using the tips, I'm going to come in and just remove little bits of hair through his stop area, so it's nice and clean. Okay, so using my curves, I'm just going to go with the direction of his coat growth. So even though he's a curly coat and his coat stands up, I'm still going to scissor because it does grow in the downward direction on the top of his muzzle. So I'm going to go with that direction. So I'm just going to tip it and take off a minimal amount of hair, and then the other side. And if we have a look at in between the inner corner of his eyes and where the hair begins to start, we've got this little bit of space through here. So what I want to do is start to blend that. So if we come down and pop our scissors on a slight 45-degree angle and come down towards the outer corner of his mouth, we're going to get that nice blended transitional line from our eye area into our muzzle. Okay, so we're pretty happy with how the shape is. The finish is a little bit rough, but we can work on that. So then once I'm happy with that, I'm then going to use a little blender, and it has got a curve to it. So it's a perfect curve for his muzzle as we're going around. So what we need to do is comb all those little hairs out and be really honest and really use your comb to pull all the little hairs out that you may have missed. And then using our curve blender, we are going to start to round his muzzle in more and really get a nice plush finish. And what I like to do at the front of his muzzle is always go with the direction of the coat growth. If I start going against, I'm actually going to bulk reduce. And remember earlier that he has a lot of sparseness through the front area, his whiskers area. So I want to keep as much volume as I can throughout this area. So I'm going to go with and start to blend that in and just bring it nice and round into that muzzle. And coming around the top into that transitional area and back around the sides. Now we're not changing the shape, we're not taking any length off, we're just getting it nice and plush. Again, I need to go with, so I've switched sides and going with the direction of his coat growth. Now remember, I haven't taken any of this area out because we need that fill to create that volume to bring that muzzle in, so it appears to be a lot shorter than what it is. Good boy. Good boy. He hates his lip area being done. Even when he was in his little poodle pants, he still hated his little lip area being clipped. Good boy. Okay, so it's really important that we just really build up this muzzle. So we're not taking a lot of length off, we're just rounding it into itself. Good boy. And we've got this transitional line from where we've clipped and scissored our jawline. We want to make sure that's nice and clean, because when that head's in that natural position, we get a lot of these wispy hairs that come out. So that's what I see a lot of, is untidy jaw lines when we're scissoring muzzles, or scissoring heads in general, like a Bichon head, a nice round teddy head. Okay, so I'm going to bring in a little bit more around his cheek area. So I'm still keeping this long around his mouth area, but his cheek area, I'm just going to bring in a little bit shorter to match the other side. Good boy. Okay, so let's comb out all those little hairs around his lip area. And I know a lot of people like to comb everything forward, and anything hanging over we're going to scissor off. But I really need this hair here. So I need to be really careful when we are scissoring that area. Good boy. So I like to just gently move it forward, and then hold his head still because he is a bit of a wiggler, and then just gently use my little blenders and gently come around his muzzle. So this is also rounding from our side profile, so you can see how it's starting to round that side profile. Good boy, good boy. Rounding into his cheek area. Good boy. So if we look at the front, show everybody the front. Good boy. Just a little bit more blending through the front. So where we've got his banded top knot, I'm going to come in and blend from our side. So if I just move his little ear out the way, I'm going to come in and come over the top of his head, just to blend and round it in, just so it's not as square. And then his other side, so lift his little top knot out of the way. Move all that hair up and coming over the top, so going with the direction of the coat growth. Okay, so I'm 100% happy with the shape of his muzzle, but I'm not happy with the finish of it. So just give it a little comb out. And comb all those little hairs out that I've missed, and then I'm going to give a slight spritz, and that'll just keep that hair in place. So now I'm moving back to my curves, and I'm going to get it nice and plush and nice and thick. So I'm not using my blenders anymore. I'm not changing the shape, I'm just dusting lightly over the coat. And now you can see that I haven't really taken anything off the bridge of his nose and how sparse it actually is. If I did, it would actually create a lot of length on that nose. And then let's just check our jaw area. Good boy. Keeping nice and still when I scissor. So it's nice and neat and tidy. Good boy. And because he doesn't have a lot of hair on the bridge of his nose, if he had some curly hairs that curl back onto the top of his nose area, if they curled back and around, I would comb those little hairs forward and then use my scissors and snip them off, just so it keeps that area nice and clean. But he's hardly got anything, so I won't even bother. But we're pretty happy with this, aren't we, Trey? Okay guys, so this is his muzzle trimmed, all beautiful and nice and round. Good boy, buddy. So I stick to a formula every time I scissor a muzzle, every time I scissor a leg, I clip a body. I always stick to the same formulation, and this is my one for our round muzzles. And like I said earlier, not every muzzle is created equally, and we really need to assess the dog before we start scissoring. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's grooming tutorial, and I really hope it helps you guys out grooming, whether it's at home or in your salon. I'm going to pop all the equipment I used in today's grooming session down in the description below, and if you guys have any questions, please pop them in the comments below and I will definitely get back to you guys. And if you guys want to see more grooming content from me, definitely subscribe to our channel. I really appreciate everybody that subscribes, and until next time guys, happy grooming.